Hello, and welcome to the Chatty Runners podcast, or welcome back if you've had the chance to listen to one of our episodes before. My name is Sophia.
My name's Dan.
And I'm Andre.
And myself, Dan and Andre, we all share the love of running. And like all runners, we love to talk about running non-stop with each other and with anyone that will listen. So that's what brings us here in the Chatty Runners podcast. And this week it's episode 6. We have made it to episode 6. This week, we are going to be talking about the unspoken rules of running. So let's see just how unspoken they are and if we all know what they are and how much we adhere to them.
This is the Chatty Runners podcast.
So just like with any hard training session, we're going to want to start with a warm-up this week. And we have one warm-up question for the group. That is, what is your favourite race distance? Now, I don't know my answer to this yet, so I'm going to go to Andre, you first, and then we'll go to Dan for his answer afterwards.
I think my favourite distance is half marathon. I think for me, it's that sweet spot between, like, you get a good amount of training and it's not quite taking over your life amount of training, and then you've got a medal at the end. That's why half marathon. Almost like 5k and 10k almost probably feels a bit too short, but that for me, that 2-hour race is just the perfect amount of running to feel why it's my favourite distance.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I can't disagree with you there, but I still think that the marathon is the ultimate kind of effort, the ultimate kind of like thing to aim for. So half marathon seems like it's just a half marathon, but it isn't just a half marathon, is it? It's an awful lot more than that. To some people, that is an immense amount of effort. 13 miles is quite a significant distance in any activity. Even driving, depending on where you're driving as well. If you're driving through the centre of London, 13 miles can feel like a lifetime and probably would take that as well. But no, I think half marathon is a really nice sort of distance if you're going somewhere. So, for example, I did the Chester half marathon a few years ago, and it was the right amount of time for you to be out running, and you still had enough energy to go and do some stuff afterwards, like shopping or just sitting down and having a coffee or something like that. So I completely agree with you there, but marathon remains the ultimate challenge to me.
And Andre, you said it was the best distance to train for as well as the race itself. Would you have a different answer if you're purely thinking about race day and you sort of exclude all of the training from your consideration?
I think so. I think because, again, my running history isn't that long. It's only like 3 years old. So, I've only done 2 marathons, and to say only 2 marathons. It's no 9 marathons compared to you, Dan.
I haven't done 9 yet.
And almost 9. I've forgotten the question. Sorry. I went off on a tangent and my mind just went.
I was just asking if you only think about race day itself, like from the start line to the finish line, is half marathon still your favourite distance?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I don't think that's ever going to change, because I'm thinking, I know the amount of, say, effort and training that a half marathon is going to take, because I always feel anything less than a half marathon, the training wise, like I can train for a 5k and a 10k within that half marathon block, whereas the marathon just seems to be that different kettle of fish that's you've got to do over and above for it. So I think as soon as I start training for a half marathon, I'm thinking about the race day.
Can I just say that that's a sign of growth, Andre, because the Andre of 2.5 years ago, if he'd have heard you say that, he would have been absolutely gobsmacked. At that kind of level of effort to put in for an event, because he probably would have thought 5k, 10k, that's going to be my limit. So it's a sign of growth, really, I think. Sophia, do you agree or not?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel maybe my answer, I didn't have an immediate answer because I'm in a similar boat in that previously it would have always been a shorter distance. But now I'm not so sure. You've made some good arguments for half marathon and marathon. In terms of the race itself, the best race I've ever run was a half marathon in terms of actually doing a bit of a negative split, which I've never done before or since, and just feeling really strong at the end. So, yeah, I do. I mean, it's really fond memories of the last half marathon I ran. And I kind of agree with you, Dan, like there's no sense of achievement like finishing the marathon, when you think about that compared to how other races feel at the end. So it's a tricky one. I think if you told me, you could only run one race for the rest of your life, I would pick a 10K because you can do it more often. It's really hard and then it's over, but it's just long enough to get some really great endorphins. But yeah, maybe favorite race distance. Maybe I would say the marathon now, having done two, just because of how you feel at the end of it.
Do you want to qualify that by just saying a flat marathon?
Always.
That's cheeky of me. That's very cheeky of me.
You didn't need to qualify it because it's a given. In any race I talk about, assume it's a flat one.
Yeah, absolutely. And not that I go looking for flat races. I do like a little bit of a challenge in any event, no matter what the distance. But, when the organisers say, oh, it's a killer hill, it's like, yeah, no. Try and sell it to me.
Yeah. I don't mind like a race for fun or like a race you're not racing. I don't mind that to be hilly. That's always good. But yeah, not if I actually want to run my fastest.
Okay. So I think kind of 13 miles upwards is kind of really where we're at, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Should we move on to the next bit then?
Showing our age because the endurance gets better as you get older.
Maturing with age. Cool. Should we move on then?
Let's do it.
Well, now we've got ourselves warmed up, it's time for the main topic. So this week we're talking about the unspoken rules of running. They're not written down anywhere, nobody teaches them to you, but somehow most runners seem to know them. Well, at least they should. So let's see whether we all agree on what those unwritten rules actually are. So the first one is sticking to one side. So, it sounds incredibly simple, but if you've ever been on like a busy park path, or it can cause absolute chaos. Maybe there should be an unwritten motorway code for runners. What do you think? And do you think there's an actual correct side?
I don't think I hope there isn't a correct side because I'll be getting it wrong. I definitely agree stick to one side, but sometimes I'll naturally be on the left or on the right, or I sort of pick a side based on who I can see in front of me and where they're walking. If it's someone with a dog, the dog probably wants to be close to the grass and the trees and sniffing. If it's someone with the pram, they probably want to be on the part that's most level and I might have to go on the grass. So I think I try and pick my side based on what I can see in front of me. And yeah, obviously then when it's an empty path, you've got it to yourself. But yeah, I do agree weaving is never good.
What about you, Dan?
Well, I always try and stick to the left, in all honesty, but there's always going to be circumstances where you have to go to the right. So on the course of Park Run at Telford, there's a bit where because it's a temporary course because of a landslip in another part of the course, you have to cross over where people are running on one side and you run across other people. So you have to be very, very careful. It doesn't cause too much of an issue, but there's a portion of that where you're running on the right alongside people who are running on the left, which sounds really strange, but yeah, generally on the left. But if I need to overtake, then I kind of do it with care, make sure that it's done sensibly. Don't just think, I can overtake this person who's walking a dog. Oh, there's a cyclist coming the opposite direction. I'll just go because it's my right of way. I'm going to get there first. Be sensible and understand what the person coming towards you might be thinking. So that's my view.
I think I agree with you with the going majority on the left-hand side. I always we drive on the left-hand side, so I'm like, we should probably, where appropriate, run on the left-hand side as well.
Yeah, I'm just racking my brains because I'm thinking some of the park runs I've been to recently. So Isabel Trail is an out and back, but you go out on the left and you come back on the right. Was it out on the left and back on the opposite side. But by the time you've turned around, it's the left again. So you stick to the left. Sorry. If I had a brain, I'd be dangerous. So left it is then.
Do we all go with left?
I've learned to stay on the left now. I won't be so indecisive with my left or right in future now that you two have both said left.
Otherwise, somebody might shout at you.
Yeah, don't want that.
So what do we got next then?
So the next one is being able to hear what's around you. So technology has made running like more enjoyable than ever, music, podcasts, including this podcast, audiobooks. But at what point does enjoying your run start putting yourself or other people at risk? So do either of you two run with music or listening to podcasts like this one?
I've got a pair of bone conduction headphones, which are very good, and you can hear things that are going on around you. But I often see people with the big bin headphones on their ears, particularly at a park run, particularly at a race, which they're actually banned. You're allowed to have the shocks ones, the bone conduction ones, but not the ones that block out all of the sound. And sometimes I even take my headphones off because it's too much going on in your head. It's too much going on in your head, and you think to yourself, I just need a bit of peace and quiet. I don't need to be listening to pumping dance music all of the time. Park runs, I don't bother with my headphones anymore because generally I just like to hear what's going on around me, particularly if it's a nice country location.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Sophia?
Yeah, I agree to most of it. I do love to have very loud dance music on, but where I would run those sessions, I need really loud, really upbeat music for my speed work sessions. And so I'm running those on quiet roads where there's not really other people around. You might occasionally see a dog walker or another runner, and that's kind of it. So I do have shocks. I can most of the time hear cars if they're behind me and make sure I get out of their way. So it's safe in that respect. But I do agree that if I was in a busy place, I would either have the music or the audio, the podcast really quiet, or again, agree with Dan, if I'm running with people, whether that's in a park run or running with friends, I wouldn't have music or a podcast anyway, because I'd be chatting probably. So yeah, I think I agree with most of it, but I just think maybe some people only have a busy park for their speed sessions and they have to sort of maybe find an earlier time to go if they want it to be really quiet and to be able to listen to music very loudly. That's what I would do if I only had kind of city or park options available. I'd just try and go when it was less likely to be full of other people, so I could have my loud music, because that's how important it is to me.
So you like your ears to be bleeding, do you, when you're listening to music?
Well, I think because shocks are bone conducting, it never really seems that loud, even when it's on full volume. I mean, probably to answer your question then, yes. If I think shocks don't go loud enough, then I've probably got a problem.
It's probably your bones aren't working properly.
Yeah, that'll be it.
You're not conducting the sound correctly. Again, I think we're quite considerate runners here. We're all good, nice people who stick to one side of the path and like to listen to what's going on around us. What have we got up next then, Andre? What's on the unofficial rules?
So the next one is announcing your pass quick, like on your left when overtaking. This always seems to divide opinion. If you're coming up behind another runner or walker, should you say something, or is that more likely to scare them than help them?
Okay, can I jump in here? From a cycling background, the communication with other riders, particularly in a club formation. But so you pass on your right and say, on your right, but also calling out hazards, and if there's a car behind you or if there's a car up ahead, just communicating like that. It's not so much about announcing your pass, it's announcing that there's an issue here, or hang on, there's somebody with a dog, or if there's an issue at the back, or particularly if you're running in a group, got to make sure that if there's somebody who's got an injury or struggling at the back, got to let them know. That's my an episode mention of cycling, by the way. I'm allowed one contractually. I think it's just really good etiquette to let people know that you're passing.
What do you think of that, Andre? Before I say my piece, I'm interested to know whether I'm going to be the odd one out.
No, I agree to a certain extent. If I'm running on my own, then if I'm passing someone, I'll sort of try and give them a wide berth because, I don't want to scare them, but I'm also like, I don't really want to say, oh, there's a runner behind you. But then on the other hand, I have scared someone coming up, like, right, I think someone had massive headphones on and they just were totally oblivious to everything around them, considering the last point that we made before. I was passing them on quite a narrow path. I was quite slow, but they just didn't see me. And even if I had announced myself, they just wouldn't have heard me. So as soon as they've seen me, they've like I've scared someone and it's made me feel really guilty. But in that circumstance, I don't really know what I could have done. I couldn't have given him the wide berth that I usually do. And I'm not the sort of person that's going to shout out ahead, I'm on your right, and the sort of thing. So I'm more of the giving them a wide berth sort of person.
Same. I actually think that person who wasn't aware of their surroundings, like hopefully they've learnt a lesson. Like you say, they've jumped out their skin. They've been a bit like full of adrenaline because they got a bit scared. And hopefully they've gone, I didn't know that person was there because the wrong headphones, music too loud, didn't check over my shoulder every now and then, etc., etc. So hopefully they've just taken that as, insights for themselves. But I've never shouted on your left or passing. I've never once announced that I'm going to overtake someone. And actually, when someone's done it to me, I kind of hate it. I don't know. Again, probably my personality type, probably the fact that I'm quite sort of stubborn and, like to think of myself as very sort of like self-sufficient and independent. But there's just something about it that makes me just a bit sort of like angry. Not that I'm being overtaken, but that someone like dared to announce it to me like I wasn't already aware of where they were. So maybe it's a weird prideful thing where I'm just like, well, of course I know you're passing because I know what's going on. You don't need to tell me what's going on. So that's why I feel weird about saying that. But I do agree, Dan, particularly with your point, if you're running in a group with people, like if it's a session, it definitely, I love nothing more than to shout car so that the other runners in my group know there's a car coming. That's so fun. That's one of the most fun things of group running, in my opinion. But yeah, just the passing thing. And again, I think it's just like verbal communication. If you're not running in a group with someone and you don't know them, they're just another runner. I just feel like verbal communication just is a bit of a step too far. But I like the point you made, Dan, about like notifying people of hazards, because that has been useful in races where someone has put their hand out or sort of, just gestured with an arm that there's like a bollard or something in the middle of a park run corner section. And that's really helpful. And I don't mind at all if people are communicating with signs. But it's just the shouting part. I don't know why I feel so weird about it.
Yeah, it's almost when you, in actual fact, one thing I would say is if I'm running towards somebody, they're on the wrong side of the path, or I'm on the wrong side of the path for whatever reason, heaven forbid, I'll literally point to my chest and then point to where I'm going to go, as if to communicate to them, I'm going to go there, you go there.
Well,
It
that's
might be
smart.
like it's a narrow path. So, for example, I'll pass on if I'm coming towards somebody and I refer to that person, I'd refer to that person very carefully as not vulnerable, but just, I'm a big burly man. I don't mind being on the roadside of it. My wife always says, you should walk on the roadside when we're walking along the street. I just think she's just waiting for the right moment to push me out in front of a lorry, but there we go. So that's something that I would naturally do is if I see somebody coming towards me and I just happen to be in the middle of the path, I'll move to the left, point and communicate that way. So verbal and
That's really
non-verbal.
smart. More because as Brits, we all do that thing where we're walking towards someone and then we do the like, oh, I'm going that way, you're going that way, or this way, that dance. And it's
Yes.
very awkward, especially if you're running to get into a salsa with someone.
Absolutely, yeah. We use, shall we dance? Yes, let's dance. I make a joke of it. It's a typical British thing to do.
I think we've learned here that Sophia is definitely an overtaker and not an overtakee.
You can overtake me, you just better be silent about it.
Okay, so what we got next on the list, Andre?
So the next one is sudden stopping. So I'm sure probably at some point in our running journey, we've all probably done this without thinking. You finish an interval, your watch beeps, and then you suddenly just stop dead. But have you ever thought about who's actually behind you?
I always do. I think this is probably quite a one that would make me angry and quite a contentious point, because if you're in a marathon and you're running along, it's about 24 miles and you're on for a PB, like I was in Manchester, and suddenly somebody in front of you just decides to stop. If they kind of like just go, oh, I'm really tired, and just stop where they are without checking, that's a red card offence to me. That really bugs me. Sorry, I just need to. I'm going to go and stand out in the garden and cool down for a minute.
So the summary there is you'd be better off dead than stopping in front of Dan.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'll be wishing death upon you if you did that. Anyway.
Well, I don't know if I have such a strong opinion on this one.
Definitely been every race I've done, someone has stopped abruptly in front of me and I've almost gone crashing into them. And it's just really like annoyed me. And I remember in London Marathon that happened. And then I almost tripped over that person because literally just stopped. And then the only place I had to go to was even further left, which was like essentially into the barriers. And I think I almost tripped and you could hear people in the crowd going, "Oh, is he all right?" That sort of thing. But it's definitely of all these things, it's a bugbear for me. Someone stopping right in front of me, no notice or anything like that, not putting their hand up saying I'm going to the left, as what the etiquette should suggest that you do. Just stopping, even if they're in the middle, just stopping and forcing me to take action straight away. It's annoying. I agree with you, Dan.
Good. I'm glad to hear it because I do wish death upon people who don't agree with me.
I mean, maybe it's because I haven't had such a traumatic experience of it like you both have. People have definitely stopped, but it's never been so close in front of me or something that I couldn't easily, step around in one way or another. So I think that's why I don't have any sort of strong memories of it happening or it being an issue for me. Yeah, I think, again, it's body language, isn't it? Like, you don't have to stop. You can slow down. You can move yourself over to the left or just out of the way, just looking behind you before. I'm thinking even at aid stations and things in the marathon, I would look over my shoulder, both shoulders. Who am I slowing down in front of? Who am I having to potentially go in front of to move over to where the aid station is? I think whether you're slowing down or whether you're about to overtake in a crowded field in a race, you need to be looking at what's going on behind you and who you're potentially going to trip up. I don't disagree. I just haven't personally been affected by it quite as much as you both.
Can I just say also, it's not just stopping and swerving. So if you're about to do a snot rocket.
No, that's disgusting.
I always check to see there's
no
nobody
one here
in the
does
vicinity.
that, right?
No.
Definitely
Nobody ever will go put their one finger over the one nostril and absolutely clear their nose. Yeah, I would do it considerately when there's no one around, but I will always check just in case there's somebody within the vicinity, like who will see me do it. I'll just be very, very careful. So yeah, so it had to be said. I'm not perfect.
Wow.
It destroyed all these illusions that I'm some nice guy who's perfect, and now you think I'm some angry person who blows his nose everywhere.
No, you're right. I know people do it, but I never would. I literally carry tissues with me all the time because my eyes water and my nose runs. In winter, obviously, everything's just streaming. But I would never do it. I just have to have tissues and blow my nose like I'm, just sat around at home.
If they're not monogrammed tissue or not monogrammed handkerchief, then I'll be very disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, handkerchiefs would be better for the environment. So, but just a bit more gross.
Oh yes, because you've got to carry it all around with you, haven't you?
Yeah.
I tried it once, and then I'd be, one hand over one finger over the nostril, and never again because I failed spectacularly. But so that was my one attempt and fail at doing it. So I'm not going to say what happened, but yeah.
Your head exploded.
No, it just didn't land on the floor. It landed on my chin.
Ooh.
So yeah, I was like, that was too much for me. So I was like, yeah, I couldn't do that again.
I think we better move on.
Because I think I've really lowered the tone here, haven't I?
Yeah, you started it. The next one is not blocking the path, basically going single file when needed. Do you think that when two people are running side by side or running in a group, you should be single file or running together like side by side? What do you think?
This one makes me really angry when there's obviously plenty of other people on the road or on the pavement or the path. If people are just in a long horizontal line, it does make me incredibly angry. But that extends to like walkers as well, because quite often it's a group of people walking in a line and they don't move over, and you just think, what? It doesn't make sense. You don't have to be glued to each other's shoulders. But yeah, makes me angry.
And cyclists as well.
Yeah, forgot about them.
I can't talk about cycling. Had my one an episode.
No, we can talk about it now. You just have no right to respond.
So my view on this is it's a challenging one because there are circumstances where you might be with somebody else. You might have organised a little podcast outing to, say, Wolverhampton to meet up and run and record it and then go and have a drink afterwards and block the path because the three of you are running side by side. Might have happened at Edge Baston, Andre, and at West Park as well. And definitely happened at East Park because I've got the footage that the three of us are running. And it's about, I think it's about being considerate, because if you're running with somebody else and the path is quite narrow, if it's a park run, as long as you're leaving space for people to pass you, then that's fine. But if you're blocking people off completely and somebody might be coming through at a faster pace, you don't want them to go onto the grass. They might slip, twist an ankle, worse even. So I think there needs to be, in the circumstances, it's okay in certain circumstances, but if somebody, for example, the old course at Telford, they would shout out runners coming through and make sure that people up front knew. And you'd shout to them, keep left, and people would know that the runners are coming through. So that's absolutely fine. I would say that if you're like a group of friends who are running side by side and you're just blocking off an event, then no, you need to really have a look at yourselves. Maybe running double file, single file. Just consider other people that are running. It's about consideration, a lot of these rules, aren't they?
It's interesting that your take was about in a park run or a race, so everyone's going in the same direction. I was thinking about it in terms of when you're running and you are in the opposite direction of a long line of horizontal people blocking the path. So yeah, it is interesting because I don't know, I feel like if you're three in a row on a path, as per your example for parkrun, I sort of feel like that's part of the race field, is that you do have to, get around people to overtake. And if we hadn't been three people who were there talking to each other, it could have been another three people who just, coincidentally were running at the same pace. I just think like a crowded field is kind of a crowded field, whether that comes from people deliberately staying side by side or accidentally falling in step with someone and being next to them in the race. So I maybe see that a bit differently, as more sort of, well, that's just part of the race, is you have to find your opportunity to overtake. But yeah, it's an interesting perspective, because my initial reaction was to think about it when you're passing someone, as in going in opposite directions.
When you're in like a foot race with somebody at a park run or an event and you're kind of matching pace, then you've got to consider where you stand on that side of things. I often find myself matching somebody pace for pace. Occasionally I win.
You're trying to to decide who won out of our little race at the end of that Wolverhampton park run, Sophia.
Well, it was all you.
It's a matter of public record. It's a matter of public record, isn't it? That it's on video. It's also recorded in the results as well, because you don't.
There was a third competitor. There was a woman who we sprinted up behind, and she obviously thought, oh, hell no, I'm about to finish here. Whatever the hell these two stinkers are doing, they're not beating me. So she picked up the pace too. And I, in the end, just was like, we're not all going to fit in the funnel. So yeah, you had the sprint, which is why I'm convinced you're going to do great in your 5K training and your next 5K PB attempt. You've got the speed, 100%.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. You've got the pace, mate. You've got the pace. Anyway, shall we move on to the next one?
Yes, this is one of my own bugbears, like proper one. It's basically, it probably seems quite unique to running, but, complete strangers acknowledging each other for no reason, whatsoever, apart from they're running. So are you someone who waves at every runner or that passes you, or just keeps your head down?
This annoys me, that if you, like this lunchtime I was out and I might have left it a little bit late to nod at somebody and they didn't nod back, or maybe they were in a little world of their own. Not everybody has to nod back. You don't have to have a long conversation with them, but it's just all right, mate. Yeah. Look how cool we are. We're out running. So yeah, I would say that if you tip your cap to somebody, they should tip their cap back to you.
Sophia, what do you think?
I'm mixed. I think everyone should do what they want to do with their lives and their caps and their, social battery for the day. Because where I live is in the countryside, if I see another runner, it's a hello. I don't think I would nod or wave. I would just smile and say hello. In a city, so if I run, in Birmingham before work and I see another runner, I go for a smile because I think I'm less likely to, if I say hello to them, they'll be like, well, who the hell are you? Why are you saying hello to me? And then in a busy city context, like, if you were to go to Battersea Park or something, I'm not sure I'd acknowledge every runner because there's just too many of us around. So yeah, I think do what makes you happy. If you'd rather not look at another runner or nod or say hello, I think that's fine. But I personally do like to say hello because, yeah, like you said, 9 times out of 10, people acknowledge you back, and it's nice just to be like, oh, we're friends, even though we've never met and we never will.
5-second friends.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Andre?
I like the thought of being able to wave to everyone, but when I'm running up close to someone, when someone's running towards me, when you have that immediate, whether they're going to wave or say hello straight away, and I'm not really the sort of person that's going to initiate that sort of thing. I'm basically going off what someone else is going to do, because that's the sort of person that I am. I'm not the instigator of it, so I'll just take the cues from the other person. And I mean, if I've seen them before and I've said hello, I'll continue to say hello. I always want to say hello to someone, but it's just that something's holding me back from making that first move. But I am definitely getting better.
We could really start diving in here and kind of really getting into your subconscious here and kind of working and thinking. So, Andre, why don't you? What is it that does it? I'm actually intrigued. I love kind of like giving people a cheery good morning, particularly on a long run, because I just think that person could be having the worst day ever. They could have got out, thought, I can't cope because I'm having a really hard time with my partner, and I just need to get out, leave the house for a bit, and somebody just need, a minute, a few seconds of just being nice to somebody could make their day. It could be the difference between them, doing the worst thing in the world to themselves, or maybe reconsidering their choices. And so you never know. You could be changing someone's life just by saying good morning. I know certainly there's been days when I've been out and somebody's said good morning to you, and it almost like drags you out of the pit of despair, which some days, some days I can be in that.
From The Princess Bride.
God, no, I don't like that film. I tried watching it.
You're making such a... And then you said the pit of despair, and it just made me think of The Princess Bride. But yes, you're right. People in desperate situations. But I think it's interesting because, Andre, where you run most of the time is the context where I said I would probably only smile and not say hello. So I don't know if it is just that, like, places where there's more people, you just sort of feel less connected to them. But then, Dan,
yeah, I think
would
so,
you say hello to everyone, even if you were in, running down Oxford Street in London?
No, probably not. You're right there. That's a very valid point. We live in 3 very different areas. So Andre in the big busy city, myself in a small local town with bits of countryside in it, and Sophia, you're out in the middle of nowhere by the sounds of things.
Yes, quite literally.
And it's a different environment, whereas I'm likely to see a small amount of people out on my run, and they're going to be out and trying to enjoy themselves as well. Whereas with Andre, they're probably somebody who's trying to catch a bus or get to somebody's house or need to get to the pharmacist to pick up their prescription or anything. That's a very valid point, Sophia. You make it very well. So let's see. Maybe we could go for a run in Birmingham sometime and see what happens about saying hello to people.
Count the runners in Birmingham and then go to a quiet park run and see what the difference is. And we'll make Andre say hello to everyone at the next park run.
Sounds like my ultimate dream and worst nightmare all rolled into one.
Okay, so what have we got next then?
So the next one is running against the traffic, seeing cars coming towards you, staying alert at crossings, and basically like the road running rules. So we're moving away from etiquette at the moment and just concentrating a little bit on safety. So this isn't just about preference. I suppose it's something that could genuinely prevent an accident. I suppose if you're out in a stick somewhere, you haven't got many pavements, the only thing you can do is running on the road. Talking about us living in different areas, probably for me, I've only generally got pavements and things like that. I don't have to run the road. Probably Sophia, complete opposite, aren't you? And Dan, probably somewhere in the middle.
That'd be a fair assessment. I mean, I pick my routes carefully to the point that I'll always pick a route that's got a pavement on it. I don't think I've ever run up a country lane or anything like that. Certainly not around here. Maybe in other parts of the country, but I would always run on the left towards oncoming traffic. Sorry, so they can see you and you can see them.
Yeah, and I do almost all of my runs are on a single lane country road, as in if there were two cars passing, they'd have to find a passing place. It is very important to run in the direction of traffic. I think a couple of notable exceptions, which you learn if you're doing lots of running on the road, is if there's a blind summit ahead. So if you're running up a incline, which I do occasionally, if you're running up an incline and you can't see over the top of the brow of that hill, then it means that the car that's about to come over the top of the hill in your lane won't see you either. So on a blind summit, sort of crossing over so that you're in the direction of traffic. And the same with a bend. So if you're looking around the corner of a bend and it's a corner to the right, for instance, and you're running on the right, that car won't see you. So again, at that point, you do want to be running with traffic, but at least visible to the car that's behind you as you go around the bend and then cross back over. So yeah, that was actually harder to explain with words than it feels when you're running on the road, but hopefully it makes sense. So yeah, other than those exceptions where the cars coming towards you won't see you, definitely running against traffic. And yeah, that's just super important.
I've got probably like a follow-up question for both of you. When I'm actually like choosing like races, I like to have races that the road is completely closed, like there's no traffic on them at all. Those are the races that I'd prefer to run. So I don't like the ones where there's like half a road and then on the other side the traffic's still going, just basically because I'm just not used to running on roads with traffic being on the, sharing that road with me.
I agree. I think that's not a safe thing because all it takes, if there's just a set of cones between you and the traffic, I wouldn't feel safe like that anyway. So there was one occasion I think that I ran a race, which was just a small local race where the roads weren't closed and they had marshals at key points where you would have to cross traffic. So you were guided across. But that was a very short race anyway. And I think a lot of the England athletics kind of events, they insist the road has to be closed. And you'll see the people out there with the big signs, the vans kind of closing the roads and making sure that people are safe because cars and human bodies, not a good mix.
Yeah, I agree. I always prefer fully road closed, again, just for the amount of space that you have and the potential for it then to be a fast race. I guess one other thing that's not really a rule, but a tip around running on the roads as well is being aware of any cambers on the roads. So if the road is at its highest point and flattest in the middle, sort of where the white dashed lines are, that's where you want to be running, or right over towards the curb where it's flat again. But I've literally injured myself. I'm fairly sure, I never got it x-rayed or anything, but I'm fairly sure in hindsight, I broke a toe from doing speed work on a cambered road and like running, 200-meter reps as fast as I could and just huge amounts of impact going through my legs and feet on a camber. So don't make that mistake. If you're running a race or you're running any kind of intense pace for you, whatever that might be, try and make sure you're on a flat piece of road for it because it doesn't do you good.
No. Good advice. Good advice. What's the next one, then, Andre? Let's move this along.
So the next one is no littering, like ever, like no matter what you've got. This one, I don't think this should be controversial, but unfortunately, it still happens. So I'm sure all of us have seen someone do it. I hope that none of us have done it, but I'm sure we all know of someone who we've seen like littering. I was at a race recently, and I'm not going to say which one it was. It was along a canal, and they were talking about not littering at all because the council knows if it's gels, then it's going to come from the race. So, and then quietly the marshal says, if you're going to litter, just litter like beer bottles and things like that, because then they don't know whether it's from the race or not.
God.
But I've never littered just because I don't want to give a bad name for runners or anyone in particular. So, everything all the gels I have always stay with me, until I get home or until I find a bin. I don't want to slip over it. I don't give someone else the opportunity to be able to slip over something that I've chucked on the floor. So, I don't like anyone else doing that either.
Same.
But there are caveats, I think. So if you're in a race and they're handing out water bottles, they'll have a specific zone for that.
Yeah, that's it. That's
tasked to do that. And you can litter in certain places. In the Great South Run a few years ago, I had a gel and I saw a bin on the side of the road. So I literally went through and popped it into the bin. I remember seeing a video actually of Lucy Charles Barkley, the Ironman world champion, at a race. And she had a gel and she was running along a path and she saw the bin and she screwed up her gel packet and she threw it and it went straight into the bin. So not only has she got amazing swimming, cycling and running skills, but she could also take up basketball maybe. And like Charles Barkley, the basketball player, if you know who that is. So yeah, that's my caveat.
I agree. Yeah, no littering ever. I've definitely had, like you say, water bottles or cups that I've tried to get rid of in the throw zone afterwards. But I'd never drop a gel wrapper in a race. And actually, at Seville, particularly this year, I remember seeing tons of gel wrappers all over the floor of the whole course. Floor? Road? Whatever that is, whatever that's called. The ground. Yeah, full of gel wrappers. And I was thinking, who's just stitching these? Like, you must have a pocket or something that the gel came out of. Can't the wrapper go back? But I guess it's less bad in race because there are, the organisers responsible for cleaning up. I just personally wouldn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely agree with the bottle. I think the bottles in the throw zones are the only time when it's sort of acceptable to litter in the appropriate zones. But you still see people holding onto their bottles and then just dropping it in the middle of the road. And it's the bottles and gels. There's such some of the slippiest things for someone who's running to slip on and hurt themselves, and it can be so dangerous.
A half full bottle of water, that's an ankle breaker right there. Got to be careful. What we got next, Andre? What's the next unofficial
rule?
The
next one is race etiquette and basically just respecting the event. So, finally it's race day. Thousands of runners, volunteers giving up their weekends or, spectators cheering you on. There's a few little things that just make the race day experience better for like everyone, just like lining up by your nominated pace at the start when you're applying, moving aside if you're stopping, like thanking the volunteers and, just basic like race etiquette.
Yeah, I mean, I think thanking the volunteers is a tricky one because if you're going all out for a win, trying to beat a PB, you might be struggling to breathe, but at least you can do is put a thumbs up or just acknowledge the volunteer. And on the wider thing about volunteers, do not disrespect volunteers. Do not have a go at them. I saw quite a few years ago a guy at Parkrun who'd forgotten his son's barcode. This was at a time when Parkrun wouldn't accept scanned barcodes from a phone. So he had the picture on his phone. And his attitude from the first instance was, you're ruining my son's day by not allowing this to be scanned by your scanner. And it was at a time when the rules were nothing. If it's on the phone, no, we can't scan it because it won't work. And he made a real song and dance about it to the run director. And he embarrassed himself, quite frankly, blaming other people for his own forgetfulness. Didn't bring his son's barcode. He's the adult there. He needs to look after the kid. Sorry. Don't disrespect the volunteers.
Without them, that these events, could never go ahead, could they?
Absolutely.
What about you, Sophia? What do you think about
completely agree.
race etiquette?
Yeah, completely agree. I think, is it an unspoken rule? I think maybe it's a spoken rule, because races tend to have their sort of runner's guides and things, which probably do cover, what to do at the aid stations and how to line up and all those things in terms of pacing. So yeah, fully agree. From my perspective, I sometimes can't thank volunteers because I don't have the breath or the words. So yeah, but I wish them well with my heart. Silently.
That's good. That's good enough. They know that as you're running past, yep, she can't speak, but her heart's in the right place. Usually trying to burst out of your chest because you're trying too hard.
Yeah, she's done it again and gone out too hot. She needs our pity.
Poor girl, poor girl. So I think we're all in agreement there. Yeah. A lot of these are just no-brainers. It's like, yeah, come on. If we have to tell you this, you're doing something wrong in life. Would you agree, guys?
I do agree. And
definitely.
I think I have an unspoken rule that maybe more people need to know about. So maybe we should talk about that, and I'll see if you both agree.
Come on then, lay it on us.
Go ahead.
So my unspoken rule, which I do think more people are getting on board with, but I think it's happening in pockets, and there's still a vast majority of people. Sometimes it's runners themselves, sometimes it's just friends and family, who, I guess the rule I have is don't ask about times. Don't ask about paces. If someone tells you they've just run a race, I think one of the things you can do to just do a massive disservice to the whole experience of running and joy of being a runner is to say, what time did you do it in? Now, if someone volunteers that information to you and says, I just ran a race and I got a PB and I got this time and I'm really happy about it, or I didn't PB, I got this time and I'm really sad about it, then fair enough. They've opened up the conversation about times and they want to share something with you. Then you can talk about it. But I just think, definitely, ideally don't ask about times at all. Ask them how they found it, what they thought they did really well, what the challenges were. But yeah, so many people, it'll be the first question they ask.
So if I was to... Sorry to interrupt there, Sophia, but if I was to ask you at the end of a race, how did you get on, Sophia?
That's good.
Yeah, that's probably more of an open-ended question, kind of how did you get on? So it gives you something to reflect upon. So you can say, well, it was a hard race and this and that and the other. And then you can work down to your time, because not everybody's like me that is number obsessed. In the sense that
and some people might be number obsessed, and that's exactly why they don't want to actually talk about it, and they'd like someone to remind them of the other things that are important. So I think how did you get on is great, because it gives people the chance to interpret that and share what's important to them, so they can share whether I blew up massively because I went out too fast and then I couldn't even say thank you to a volunteer and it was awful. If that's what they want to share, then they've got the chance to share it. And if you say, how did you get on? And they want to share that they, ran their best, mile time in the middle and it was wonderful, then they can talk about that. At no point do they have to just say, I got this time for it. It doesn't reduce the whole experience down to a number on a clock when there's so much more to it.
I think, yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I think the concept of like, what time did you get? I feel like non-runners are more likely to ask that question of you, because them asking you, how did you go? And you say, oh yeah, it went really well. It doesn't really mean anything to them. But then, knowing a time, the quickest marathon was 2 hours, I'm going to judge you against that quickest time because I know that I've got a figure in my head that I'm thinking, so I'm going to judge you based on your time compared to the fastest time ever. Or like my nan says to me, "Oh, did you win?" No, I didn't win. But it's, I don't even ask the question anymore. I'm sort of the point, how did it go? And people don't tend to ask me what time I got.
That's good.
Who are runners anyway?
Glad to hear that. Yeah.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
I mean, when someone asking the time, what does the time mean to them anyway? Because it's the time is personal to you. If you can only compare it to other similar races. It's to someone else. that's just an arbitrary time. It doesn't really mean anything. Oh, that person got that time. It means the world to you, but in isolation of them asking you that question, what are they getting out of it?
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any unspoken rules to add to the list?
I have one, but I am also guilty of it myself. Stopping in the middle of a race to take photos or
Oh,
selfies of yourself. And as I said, I'm guilty of it myself. It's all right to go to the side to do it, but there's been a lot of people who would just stop in the middle of the race or stop on the middle of a finishing line and take a selfie in front of the like the official timing and things like that. And I know there's been like quite a few marathons where they've given like say like spots to, let's say, influencers, basically just so that they can go ahead of like the elites and things like that and take shots and basically do some like publicity for them, for that sole purpose of publicity and taking shots and things like that. So it's a bugbear. I think there's a degree of, where it's too much, and probably where we do it, take on our run, that's fine.
yeah,
No,
that's a good point.
Yeah, I could see how that would be really annoying if you're running along and suddenly somebody whips out their phone and starts to take a selfie of themselves. I mean, both Andre and I record our activities on action cameras, but that's always constantly filming, never stopping. I've got it all under control. It's all self-contained. This is talking where somebody whips out a phone, stops in the middle of the road so everyone's behind them to take a photo, and literally people are going into the back of them. That's just not safe. That's ridiculous.
I think it's all of, well, many of the unspoken rules we covered before sort of rolled into one. I would say if you look behind you, if you're aware of what's going on, if you can get your phone out safely and it not affect anyone else's race, and like I would maybe film myself while running, but I've got really long arms, so I'd have to check that I'm not going to hit anyone at any point in the 360-degree span of where the arm is going. I think as long as you can be sure you're not going to affect anyone else's race, then I think, yeah, go for it. Get whatever you want out, take pictures, retie your shoelaces. It's kind of any of those things that are personal to you. I think it's fine to do it, but to do any of those things without checking first who it's going to affect is not good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's that would get a definite death wish from me.
Death wish, Dan.
Death wish, Dan. Death wish, Dan. I don't think I've got one that we haven't covered. I'm sure one will pop into my head if I think long and hard enough about it. No, I mean, it really would be more along the lines of at a water station that don't just immediately go for the first bottle. More advice than, kind of rules of running. I would say just be sensible at a water station. And, don't think I've got to get the first one, because there's always going to be 5 or 10 or 15 other people behind that person ready to give you another bottle. So yeah, that would be my only rule of running.
It's a good one.
I think we've kind of told people how they need to do it now, don't they? This is how it has to happen. Would you agree, guys?
Yeah, 10
definitely,
commandments.
definitely.
Was it 10? Some commandments.
I've lost track. I will count them later and maybe even put them out as a social media post in a few days' time, but we'll see. So yeah, that was a really good chat. I love that. Learned a few things about you guys as well. And you probably learned a few things you didn't want to know about me.
Just one thing.
Shall we move on to the cool down?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
This is the Chatty Runners Podcast.
Well, that was a vigorous and long effort. I really enjoyed that chat. I think Andre and Sophia made some very valid points, and they know not to get on the wrong side of me. Well, at least not to stop in front of me during a race. Anyway, time for the cool down. So I've got an answer to this question already in my head, and you're probably thinking, God, he's going to say something like, yes, I ran with Prince Charles at one point, or someone like that, or somebody really famous. No, it's probably not. You'll probably go, who? But have you ever run with a famous person? He says, looking at Andre, have you ever run with a famous person?
Well, apart from running with you two at the East Park run, I can, still the most
Top answer.
On Saturday, I did the Arrow Valley Park Run, and at the end, I met Ross Noble, the comedian who had just done that park run because he was in Birmingham the night before, and he randomly had done it, and he was such a nice guy to chat to. He was wearing the Mega Blasts, and he had a rotation of the Super Blast 3s and the Super Blast 2s, so we were literally just chatting about like racing shoes, but like complete shock because you just like seeing someone random like Ross Noble was amazing. So that's the most famous person I've ran with. Well, I technically didn't run. We both did the same park run on the same day, but he was ahead of me. So that's
I'll allow it. Was that on your 2026 list, Andre? Talking trainers with Ross Noble. It sounds like an Alan Partridge television program suggestion. Talking trainers with Ross Noble. So, yeah, I wouldn't have had that one down on my list either.
But of the running channel as well, isn't he? Ross
Yes,
Noble.
he is, yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he called Sarah Princess Snark.
Oh, yeah.
She gives Rick such a hard time. Leave my Ricky alone.
He was getting tapped up to do another podcast, but I thought it was inappropriate for me to try and tap him up to come on our podcast.
Give us a year.
Mix here. We don't need anyone else. No.
Yeah.
I've only run with Jess from the running channel, speaking of the running channel. And I guess then, yeah, by extension, Tom and Owen, and I got to meet Sarah as well. But yeah, that's about it.
Well, that's good enough for me. Have run, and I mean properly run, with a double Olympic gold medalist.
Wow. It was definitely best you go last for this one.
Yeah.
Put us all to shame, yeah.
I'm older.
Also,
I've
they
done
better
more
not be a
stuff.
cyclist.
Okay, well, let's end the podcast now then. Unfortunately, this person has won 2 Olympic gold medals at 2 separate Olympics, 2012 and 2016, and also multiple world championships. She also is a really lovely person. Her name is Joanna Rousel, which I don't know whether you know of Joanna Rousel. So she was part of the women's pursuit team in 2012 and in 2016 at the London Olympics and Rio Olympics. She's just a breath of loveliness. I've spoken to her a couple of times, and she was at Shrewsbury Park Run in 2020, early 2020, probably about end of February, early March, and she was training for the London Marathon at the time. And I just commented to her because she would come down on a regular basis to Shrewsbury, and I'd say hello to her and chat to her and just generally not completely fanboy her by kind of like, oh my God, you're a cyclist. Sorry, I mentioned it again. And I was just running with her. I said, oh, what are you doing back here? She said, oh, it's part of my training plan. I'm doing a slower run. Okay, fair enough. Then I'm running at the same pace as an Olympian. And we were talking about the impending pandemic of COVID. And she said, there's talk that they're going to cancel the London Marathon. I said, nah, they'll never do that. Oh, how wrong was I? But she was lovely, and I've seen her since. And I know that by following her on Instagram, I know that she does lots of running and things like that. And she's a very good role model for young women, and particularly for young women with alopecia. I mean, for blokes like me, losing your hair, it's not a major issue. You just style it out and you just shave your head. But for a young woman to overcome that sort of adversity, to go on and be as successful as she has been. I remember in 2012, I went to a show at the NEC that might be related to things with 2 wheels. And she was doing a talk there and she was showing off her medal. And she said that her head teacher had said that every single person from her 6th form had gone on to university and get a university degree, except for her. And then a few years later, she went and got a university degree. So she's pretty much winning at life, in all honesty. But she was lovely. She was amazing. My mum argues that she did run with Mo Farah, but he started. It's like Andre saying, well, I ran with Sebastian Sarway. Well, he kind of like started a few hours ahead of you. Like me saying Andy Badley, I ran with him, but he was already most of the way around the course at Valencia before I'd even started. So, yeah. Actually running alongside her was amazing, and chatting to her. And yeah, a wonderful, wonderful person and a great experience. I hope you're listening, Joe.
We've got our work cut out then to try and top that in future.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you need to kind of, definitely get up there and start running find famous people where they run and go and
find
run with
Tom
them.
Cruise at the next Mission Impossible film set.
Right, so let's go on to matters arising, because there's something big that's happened last weekend, the Diamond League in London. And this harks back to my childhood, and this gave me some very fond memories of when I was a kid. The world's mile record being broken. It was an amazing, amazing achievement to break that time, and it reminded me of Seb Coe and Steve Ovett and Steve Cram, that era in the 1980s when the 1500 meters were just ruled by British athletes at a time when East German and Russian and Eastern Bloc athletes might have been doping, and yet these blokes who weren't full-time athletes were absolutely handing their asses to them on a plate. And it made me think, what an amazing athlete Josh Kerr is, just to do that and to do it in such style. So far ahead he was. I don't know whether you've watched it on you. It's under 4 minutes, so you got the time to kind of like watch it and not really take up too much of your day. But it was absolutely amazing, and I hope this starts other people thinking, I want to go and do the mile. I want to go and beat that time. And I don't mean just general people in the street, but just generally athletes like Ingebrigtsen or somebody like that. It would be amazing to see the record tumbling again and again and again. There was a period of time where Steve Ovett broke it. A year later, he broke it again. And then 2 weeks later, Seb Coe went and broke it again. And it was just amazing to watch. Just a fabulous time to be alive and to witness those sort of things. And like Kipchoge breaking 2 hours, when somebody makes a breakthrough at a certain time, certain distance, certain pace, it encourages other people to go, yes, we can do that. So I think we'll see more people going sub 2 hours as well. Sorry, I've just completely fanboyed all over that. It was just amazing to hear that sort of thing happening.
And even better that it's a Brit breaking those records. You just feel like it's it's nice to have these records like by like homegrown talent. I did watch it as well, and it was amazing to see. Would you say that this is comparable to the sub 2 hour marathon time?
It's up there, but it's not comparable. I think the sub 2 hour, even when Kipchoge did it and it was kind of in like it wasn't in a race. It was amazing, but that proved that a human can run that fast in the right circumstances. Salway doing it was even more impressive. Just, mind blowing. And I think, as I said, the records are going to tumble now. That the 2 hour, I think you might even see a woman going under 2 hours 10 for the marathon at some point in the future. Any thoughts on that, Sophia? Did you watch it?
I actually didn't. I think I might have been on a plane at the time, but I had no friends that had tickets, and I saw like their Instagram stories and things about it afterwards, and I was like, oh wow, like I wish I could have been there in person. I love athletics and all the track stuff, so I'm just happy that whether it's through rivalries or world records or just British talent like Keely as well, obviously. I just think that maybe the sort of running boom in terms of normal people running and how much that's exploded, how many more people are runners now than there were 5, 7, 10 years ago. I feel like that's now starting to filter down into making athletics more popular for people to watch as well and get involved with. So I just think, it's an exciting time for athletics, for the spectators and the supporters and people talking about it.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, Keely Hodgkinson's just absolutely amazing. And I hope she's going to break the 800 meter record outdoors this year. It's amazing to see Femke Bol step up to that level as well, to the 800 meters, to create that rivalry. It's years ago, I would have been like, no, it has to be the British athlete that wins and everything. But now it's like it's amazing when you see, irrespective of the nationality, somebody who's just head and shoulders above somebody else in a particular discipline, a particular event.
Like Sydney, her name changed, didn't it, after she got married?
But McLaughlin Levereux and something like that, is that?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So there we go. Yeah. So talking about proper running for a change there, it was absolutely Amazing. Anyway, so this pod is now drawing to a close, and let's find out what our weekend plans are. So, Andre, which stand-up comedian are you going to be running with this weekend?
I'm actually not. I'm going to give parkrun a miss this week because I've got long runs back on the agenda again because I'm training for my sub 25 5K in 4 weeks' time. So I'm back on long runs on a Saturday. So this weekend I'm not doing a parkrun. But it's 15K instead.
Okay. Well, at least you're putting the effort in. Okay, that's good to hear. Sophia, are you jetting off to some exotic climb? You know, are you kind of going overseas again, or is it Ludlow and nails and washing?
Yeah, just home stuff. I am seeing some friends on Sunday, which will be nice because they're friends I used to live very close to and now don't. So it's always good to have a good catch up. And yeah, I've also got just a nice big long run. I am now officially in I think it probably started a few weeks ago and I just didn't pay too much attention, but I'm training for Manchester Half at the beginning of October. So my long runs are now getting quite long, and I think they're fun because they've got pace work in them as well. It's not just a long, easy run. And I find it so much better to do a long run where you actually have some bursts of effort to sort of keep it interesting and make it feel like it goes quicker.
Cool. And are these friends, are they running friends, or are they kind of like, No?
Normal people friends. I met them because we all had like pandemic puppies. So I met them when my dog was maybe 4 or 5 months old and their dogs were either similar age or a few months younger maybe. But we all met just whilst walking in our village. And one of my friends, she's American, and she thankfully was that just burst of like American sunshine and friendliness who made the first move to actually talk to us and then take it a step further and say, well, can I get your number and we should meet? Because yeah, as a British person, like running or dog walking, you might say hello to people, but it's a bit like we're too reserved to actually convert them into a friend. But yeah, thankfully for us, our American friend did that bit for us, and yeah, been really close friends with them ever since. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah. Americans, they're not backwards at coming forwards, are they?
Thankfully.
So my plans this weekend, obviously last weekend I was down in Hampshire and, well, technically Surrey. I went to do Family Lodge Parkrun to give it its full title. But this weekend, I'm possibly going to be crossing the border. Now, a lot of this depends on whether my daughter decides she's going to need our assistance down in Hampshire again to help her go through the paperwork for signing a lease on a rental flat. She's 22. She's a clever girl, but sometimes you just want your mum and dad to kind of put their arm around you and say, yeah, you're doing the right thing here. She's doing brilliantly. She's loving it in her new job this week. But I'm hopefully going to be going to Llangollen, the old railway line parkrun, to get the letter O for my parkrun alphabet. And Mike, if you're listening from Chasing the Finish podcast, I think I'm a few behind you because he said in his last video he was doing the parkrun alphabet, but I think he's only got 4 or 5 to go. I've got about at least 8 or 9, so I'm going to be well behind him. And I've got some really obscure ones to get, like Zed's going to be a trip to the Netherlands. So, but no, over to Wales, to Llangollen, because you've got the O, and then a long run on Sunday. But that could all be thrown into chaos if my daughter needs my assistance, because Daddy can help. Don't worry. Cool. So that's our weekend plans. I'm really looking forward to it. And so let's go through the socials. So Andre, tell us your socials.
You can get me everywhere at Andre Runs with a Z.
So that's Instagram, YouTube,
yeah.
TikTok.
TikTok as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I looked at TikTok and I thought to myself, no, this looks too complicated. Sophia, go on, tell us yours.
I'm on Instagram at Sophia the Runner.
Okay, cool. Your running bestie, I think, is your tagline, isn't it?
I might change it though, because you've raised it too many times and now I'm self-conscious about it, so that might be deleted.
You're my running bestie, if that helps.
There we go. I'm someone's.
You see, I go anonymous. I'm on YouTube as Other Adventures Await Me. And I'm on Instagram as Other Adventures Await Me as well. And of course, Chatty Runners Podcast on Instagram, The Chatty Runners on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, YouTube. We're all over the place for this podcast. So that is that for another week. So I'll say goodbye to you, Andre. Goodbye, Andre.
Goodbye, Dan, Sophia.
And I'll say goodbye to you, Sophia.
Goodbye.
We love doing this stuff. Please share this podcast with anyone you can, just random strangers down the street. Just tell them all about it. And keep an ear out for the next episode of the Chatty Runners podcast, because that will be 7, if I make it that far. Thank you so much and have a lovely night. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.